Welcome back, friends, to another Surprise Guest Sunday on 11:11. Today we have a wonderful, wonderful, thoughtful, deep person who I have known for more than a decade. She helps women dive deep inside to find their truth. She takes them on trips to do this. She has more ideas than anybody you will ever meet. And what's amazing is she knows how to implement them in fabulous fashion. She's got a wonderful project going on now that is going to help literally millions of people. And everything she does is done with a level of care and love and detail for the benefit of the person who's participating than I have ever seen. If you ever want someone to do an event for you, this is the gal to go to because your guests will feel spoiled. So, with that nebulous introduction, mystery guest, will you please tell us who you are and what you do in general and what you're doing at the moment?
Well, first of all, Joy, it is a joy to be here and talking with you on this pod chat on Mother's Day of all special, special days, a favorite of mine. And I feel spoiled with your introduction. So not sure all of it is so true, but I will take it. I will take it. So what am I doing? And I guess what's on my heart right now? I had to kind of go back to my Amazon author page to look at a life that I love, but it is on pause right now. And that is one of a retreat leader, a world traveler. I've created the Divine Dialogue writing system, and I work with women to tell their stories. I love, love, love travel. But the one piece that's true to me is that I am a transformational author, writer. I can't go a day without writing. It is like breathing for me. And I've got a project that I do hope will touch millions and help millions.
And your name. What is your name and where are you
Oh,
from?
what the heck? Let's just get to basics. So much for the interview guest. So I am Lori Raymond, and I've been blessed to live in Florida, St. Pete, Florida, for 42 years, and traveled from upstate New York and left the snow country to come to the Sunshine State because my parents relocated here. So yeah.
My theory is why you didn't first say your name was because you very much know who you are.
You're spoiling me with compliments. Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
I had mentioned to you before we started today that this was going to be a very unusual pod chat because it's going to be a hybrid. I had asked you on today, not just because you're a mother, but because currently you're caring for your own dear mother. And the relationship you have with your mom is one anybody would give their eye teeth to have. You really have embraced with her what it means to be a mom. The way you look at her, you view her through the lens of what a wonderful mom should be. I don't mean perfect. I don't mean she doesn't have things she needs to work on like we all do, but the way you treat her is the way I believe any mom would want to be treated. And I don't mean with the caregiving. I mean with the respect and the reverence and the love and the kindness. So I actually had you on today to talk about being a daughter, which we will go into more later on this Mother's Day, because I think you are the poster child for what it means to appreciate a mom and be a good daughter, quite frankly. So we're going to kind of bounce back and forth between what you're doing professionally at the moment with your busy life as a caregiver. And the reason we have to do that is because so much of your day is taken with the caregiving. So this is going to be kind of a fractured conversation while we try to find that balance, which I would imagine a lot of caregivers are doing in their own life, trying to find a balance. As far as for what you do, you mentioned being a transformational author. How did you get into that line of work?
Well, there's a Japanese, I believe it's a Japanese saying that there are three things that you should accomplish in life. Plant a tree. Well, I did that, a magnolia tree, more than 2 decades ago. Have a child. I did that in an interesting way that I adopted a 10-year-old child in Honduras at age 44. So check, check. And the third one was write a book. So I thought I was writing a solo book, but somehow was asked to participate in one anthology. It actually was my first book to be published in. And it was about angels. And I wrote an essay about my mom and how she came to be in the world. And that was my first published story, which led to participating and telling other stories in 8 other anthologies. So I just was riding the wave of being a writer.
And how did you get into your current activity of caregiving? How did that come about?
It started 12 years ago in that my mother had open heart surgery and my house was going away. So the intention was I would just move in for a year, get grounded, and find work. And fast forward 11 years, I'm still with her. And the caregiving role is one that is not so obvious. It starts out in a partnership like I had with my mom. I would do certain things for living here. And in time, as she aged, those activities increased. And I've since learned there's three different levels or stages of caregiving that just go from helping your mom and dad or anyone with just some errands, banking, groceries, checking in, to then really taking over the role and responsibility for me, for us, my precious mom, Claire, who will celebrate tomorrow, May 13th, will be her 92nd turn around the sun. So this is a very special pod chat. COVID demanded that I step up, and I made a promise to her and my father, who is in heaven, that nothing would happen on my watch during COVID. So I assumed all the risks and responsibility. I think in those 2.5 years of COVID, and then as it trailed and we could go out more and more, I think my mother went into 5 different stores in those 2.5 years. And she walked in, picked out a grocery item or flowers, and walked back out. She walked into a card store, dollar store, and she picked out cards, fully masked, gloves on. I bought them. She went back to the car. So it is an increasing, interesting role, Joy, that it isn't like you just say, oh, I am now my mother's caregiver. It just doesn't happen that way. And in these last 2 years with her aging, if you would, she is dementia free. She remembers things I don't. It's reached the level of both caregiving full time, 24/7, and nursing. So she needs the term skilled nursing. So that's where I am now, 12 years later.
What would you say is the most rewarding aspect of caring for your mom?
It happened this morning. My mother is struggling with chronic insomnia, anxiety, and shortness of breath because she has congestive heart failure. And we've been dealing with that intensely for the last year. And so yesterday, I tried to help her go back to sleep no less than 4 times. And each time she did not sleep. And I know that she doesn't because we have a wonderful sleep app. It's on the phone, and you just put it where she's sleeping, and it will tell you how long it took her to go to sleep and how long she did sleep, when she coughed. So yesterday was a 19-hour day for me, and my mother is so brave, and she perseveres, and she keeps trying, and she keeps trying, and she does everything I ask her to do. And my sister, who is the shared caregiver, she's not here right now, so it was a solo day. This morning, Joy, she woke up and she had 5 out of her 8 or 9, whatever hours of sleep, deep sleep. The app, I could read it on her eyes. I was ready to call the news station and let's just tell the world. And then got her settled and said, Mom, how about going back to sleep again? You're just doing so great. By the way, if you're a caregiver, you will learn that you've got to be a cheerleader. And so I always wanted to be a cheerleader. I never was, but boy, now I am a qualified cheerleader. So we did everything we'd done last night. And out of 3 hours, she got another hour and a half sleep. So I feel like I won the lottery with
You
my mom calling me and saying, hi, I need your help. And I get a call every morning that tells me she's up. And now I go from the guest house to the main house, and to see her eyes and to read that sleep app. I mean, I've won the lottery this morning.
you earned your pom-poms, my friend.
Okay. I sure did. Let me tell you. And I'm shaking them. I'm shaking them. I'm shaking them.
Oh,
So
what has surprised you most about caregiving?
what an interesting question. Well, since I have been on this journey, as I said, really full time for the last 4 years and intensely these last 2 with the nursing responsibilities, is that caregiving is both exhilarating. Like, I hope you felt that in my voice, everybody who's listening out there in Pod Chat World on 1111. And it is just bone chilling, weary, exhausting. So it's both exhilarating and exhausting. And you move through those two bookends all day until you get to your bed and put your head down.
That brings us to the next question on the heels of that. With all of the challenges you've been facing, what would you say is the biggest challenge, not just for you, but for caregivers in general?
For us right now, there are many. There are many. And there's some wonderful resources out there, which my writing project will address. But what came to me was delivering the mental and physical health solutions for mom, because I counted and we're coordinating because she's empowered. She doesn't have any kind of dementia, so she needs to be involved. So conversations are ongoing, but coordinating with her medical team of 7 professionals, 7, and then getting that information and going back and forth and doing our own research with 2 siblings, and then sometimes unsolicited advice from friends to deliver the best activities, protocols, supplements, appointments, whatever it is. And this is all wrapped in an emotional quilt. It's complex. Delivering health solutions with that many professionals, her doctors, her acupuncturist, her cardiologist. She goes to a homeopathic. She is now getting counseling for anxiety. Are you getting the sense of the 7 professionals? And there isn't one, even though her main primary doctors are holistic, you have to go to some specialty. So we're actually looking at a counseling from a geriatric counselor, because while I look at my mom and I see her as this vibrant 70 something, which is how old I am, she's 92. And the brain, I've learned, ages. I just thought, oh, it's just the body. Oh no. So she has a different brain, and I'm not skilled to do that. So it's that coordination right now and making her feel a part of the decision. She's lived this long. She's outlived a boyfriend that followed for 9 years after my daddy died 20 years ago. She needs to make her own choices, by golly.
For people in general who are caregivers, what do you think they struggle with the most?
Oh, self-care. Oh, absolutely. Self-care. I'm guilty, guilty, guilty. And just as you said, it just creeps up like, I don't know, you're in a swimming pool and you start in the shallow end or sit on the edge of the pool. You put your feet in, you walk down the steps, you can walk around the shallow end, you might then dip in, and you end up in the deep end. And when I've got the paramedics coming because she can't breathe and she can't answer questions because the first time we gave her a LASIK, they didn't stress the importance of giving her her potassium. So she woke and was in a state of total confusion. I was in the deep end. At that time, I'm not thinking and getting her to the emergency room. And it's a whole nother chapter, understanding what you have to do to be prepared and to know the system, that you want paramedics to take your loved ones to the hospital because they get a room. If you go yourself, you sit there and wait, which we did one time for 8 hours while she was in agony. Never do that again. It is that you absolutely, it's trite, but you have to put on your oxygen mask. So when I leave the casita where I am dressed. I have my go bag. I'm up early, 3 or 4 o'clock. I'm prayed up. I've done my own writing. I have to take care of myself first because I don't know what I'm walking into.
My goodness, and your analogy about the pool is so perfect. And then there comes a point that you're like, where's the pool? I'm out in the ocean with the waves crashing over me and no boats or land in sight. It just seems to be never ending and increasingly overwhelming.
And that's what yesterday was. I'll tell you, one of the best parts of Facebook, I asked for prayer because of no sleep on my part and my mom's sleep. And the comments, just again, going with that water metaphor, buoyed me. And I kept rereading those. Of course, I'm in prayer. I call a prayer line. But the best of Facebook has shown up in the last 48 hours and helped me put on my life vest because I didn't have it on. Have it on today, and then to go into the house this morning and see my mom's eyes, knowing instantly that she had sleep, and just hugging and giving thanks and then moving through our morning routine. So when she's in a state where I'm not quite so sure what's going to happen, I have different shoes I wear. I'm not putting on my Florida flip-flops. And I've got socks in my go bag because emergency rooms and hospitals are cold. And I've got my charger and I've got snacks. I've got all that in a backpack, and I just have to grab it and remember my phone. Because when you're trying to navigate with a mom and put her in the car and her walker and her this, grab her go bag, you've got to have that because she'll be taken care of by the hospital folks. And then where are you? You can't have feet freezing. You've got to have some food. You've got to have money. It's the Girl Scout in me. So hats off to the Girl Scouts. I was a brownie. I was an overachiever. I did brownie badges every Saturday with my mom. Great, fun, sweet memories. You've got to have a plan B. And the Girl Scouts just taught me that kind of be prepared.
We'll be talking in a few minutes about the ways that you're helping caregivers, but I have to say, you are the most organized person already looking at the entire picture and being able to see, okay, this is where we are right now, but 12 hours from now, we're going to need this, this, and this. Most people are not like that. So I'm so grateful that the project that we'll get into in a moment is about how to help caregivers, because what comes naturally to you and takes work, other people would never even think of, and they would just be miserable and out of their depth. No more puns intended there. That's why I'm so grateful that they have you to get them through these waters. What is a common misconception about caregiving, especially for caregiving for an older family member?
Just because you went to school doesn't qualify you to be a teacher. And just because you're a family member doesn't qualify you to be the best caregiver for a loved one. And what I have found is that not everyone has the temperament and energy to be a helpful and effective caregiver. We just think, oh, I'm the caregiver. Oh, well, then you know everything, you know what to do, you have the resources, you are patient, you're loving, kind, all of that. And that's not the truth. There is a temperament and an energy that I've discovered around the term caregiver. Then there's the assumption from friends and family, because when you say a caregiver, maybe they've done some caregiving for a sick child in their life or a loved one, whatever, and they just know what your caregiving role is. And that's not the truth. I think every caregiving relationship is different, unique, and that it takes a dear friend to really say, how is it? What's going on? And how can I help? Versus saying, take care. I don't know what that means. Take care. I have to take something to care for myself. I have found that people who just check up on me, they don't ask me if they can do that. They just are proactive and they check up on me, or they send flowers, or they show up with food. And I would invite people who think the caregivers got it all handled. They don't. They don't. I don't. So I appreciate the proactive friend or family who takes action rather than telling me, I've got one more thing to do. Take care, Lori. Oh, are you kidding? I mean, I haven't slept in 19 hours, guys. What do you mean, go take care? So
I think you brought up something very important. I often think of the people who are acting as caregivers as being sort of like nurses, in so much as I view both of them as being angels on earth. Anyone who's caring for someone, just my hat's off to them and my heart is out to them. However, there's a huge difference. People who are paid nurses have decided years prior that this was how they wanted to live their life, whether it was a calling, this is going to be my vocation, but they got trained in it, they made a decision, they stuck with that decision. And they were probably predisposed to having those qualities that you need as a caregiver. Whereas somebody who falls into caregiving might be the grumpiest person on the planet, or the most selfish, or the least able to help someone. It could be a person who never had kids because they never wanted to take care of anybody. And lo and behold, they're the one expected to take care of their sibling or parent now. I think that's a huge distinction because they're not prepared, whether being trained or having the disposition or the mentality. I can't even imagine how hard that is for people that don't have that gene and then they're thrown into that role.
yeah, very challenging. And nurses have shifts, and paid caregivers have shifts. And what I'm speaking about is that I'm an unpaid family caregiver. And we collectively, all 58 million of us in the United States, that's just the statistic for the United States from AARP, and we contribute in our unpaid loving efforts some 6 billion, that's B as in boy, $6 billion every year with what we give to our loved ones. I mean, somehow they figured that out. And I heard as you were describing, it's that many people I have found are reluctant because they don't know, they don't have training, they didn't choose this. They chose to be an accountant, they chose to be a travel agent, they've gone to school, they've got their degrees, they're raising their families, they're balancing home and work, and now all of a sudden mama needs care. And so there's got to go through that stage of reluctancy, which I didn't really encounter because I was already living with my mom. But I will tell you the flip side of that coin is that there's resentment. And I have to be, I don't need to advise anybody, but I have to check myself on my resentment. When I start getting short with her, I call it being snarky, which normally happens at the end of a 12, 16, 18-hour day. I really have to say a prayer and pause, push that pause button. And the last thing I want is anything would happen and that our last exchange would be one of me speaking to her in a resentful, stern, uncompassionate kind of way. So I had to shift. Oh, I don't know when I shifted. I think you and I might have discussed it. It was in my journal a year ago. I wrote about it and did an essay. It shifted from, oh, I have to get up. Mom's going to call me. I have to make 3 meals. God, please give me the grace and strength to say, I get to be with my mom today. I get to make food. We've got a full fridge. Oh, I get to do this. And that changed everything. So I will say that I don't struggle or worry or think that resentment is a part of our daily life, because that's the last thing I want my mom or me leaving this planet, that she feels I'm resentful because I'm caring for her, because she cared for me. Her title, nickname was Supermom. My mom, she's the one person on the planet who has demonstrated year after year unconditional love. She is my cheerleader, my biggest fan. She's my informal editor for everything I write. And by God, she's not going out with her thinking anything but that I love her.
I can think of no more beautiful sentiment on a Mother's Day.
That's the goal.
I
Yep.
have no doubt you will meet this goal. So, switching tacks here. Have you noticed any trends or shifts in the caregiving industry now that you're starting to look at it as an industry itself?
Because my antenna are up to articles, and I'm now reading the AARP magazine because I'm a member, and I would encourage anybody just who is aging and or in the caregiving role, paid or unpaid. The needs of boomers, which I am, and our children is going to just exponentially, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but you could Google it, between now and 2030, that everything is rising for the needs from every aspect of caregiving. And more family members are going to be called to provide the caregiving and nursing. I want to add that word, and nursing, because right now, facilities who take care of anyone, and there are 3 levels, which I've learned. It's independent. You need that extra help, so you're independent. Then there's assisted. Okay, we've got to do a little bit more nudging and assist you with maybe a few things. And then there's skilled nursing, actually for skilled nursing, where you've just got to make sure meds and so forth are taken, nebulizers, exercise, and finally memory care. So you've got 4 different quadrants, if you would, to know about and to check to see whether money and insurance will cover that. And right now, the system is struggling. They can't find, this is in Florida, and from the people I now talk to all the time, can't find qualified staff. So what's going to happen that makes it more attractive than being paid $15, $16 an hour to deal with someone with dementia who's got nursing needs for an 8-hour shift? I mean, you're talking what people make at McDonald's. Besides staff is just the actual facilities, the places that can provide the kind of care that you would want for a loved one. Family members just cannot provide the care we need. So staffing in the actual facility, it's already strained. It's really actually broken. And states are going to have to step up. You can get funding. Family caregivers, I've learned, can get paid, but there's a huge disparity. I think Wyoming, and don't quote me, but it's like in the low hundreds, like $300 a month if you qualify. And you compare that to Colorado, and Colorado is in, I think, the 2,000 to 3,000 range. That's what I recall. So when you can't find a facility or you don't like the staff and you can tell what's going on, then somebody in the family or the team members of their family are going to have to take over. If you're 70 and you haven't started looking for where you want to be or to have what I call the family caregiving plan, you're just about ready to miss the boat. My mom didn't have a plan. She just assumed she'd always be home. And now at 92 with her needs, doubtful that we could find a facility that would care for her the way that my sister and I do. We just don't believe it's possible. If we did, it would be something like $10,000 a month for her. That's the truth.
My goodness. This is very sobering.
The average age for many facilities here in Florida is 74. So you need to be looking at this time frame in your life of what's your plan A, be the Girl Scout, be prepared, and have a plan B.
And with your help, they will be able to do that.
Hope so.
We'll move on to some more whimsical stuff here. What is something you can share about yourself that people may not expect or may surprise them?
I've got a PhD in change. I've used that as when I was a professional speaker once upon a time. And I claim that PhD in change because I attended as an Air Force brat, a beloved child. I was loved. I attended 16 schools from nursery to graduate school. And I feel like that qualifies me to say I have a PhD in change. And I love, love, love school, which is what prompted me to become a teacher. And I got a degree in teaching elementary ed with a double major in languages because I love travel. That's something people don't know, or that I think I alluded to, that I became a single mother at age 44, 45 and adopted a child in Honduras. And that grandmother is really one of my most cherished titles. So yeah, I can say transformational author and retreat leader, blah, blah, blah. But in 5 years from now, I think the one title I would want people to remember is, yes, that I am an author, but I'm this grandmother. That's a cherished title.
And speaking of the travel thing, during your trip to where your soul, I believe, or heart resides, which is in Scotland, something huge happened in the monarchy. Can you tell us real quickly about what happened when you were in Scotland?
Yes. Well, my mom's mom, Isabella Marie, was born in Scotland. And I have a special connection with her, who she's since passed. So I planned a 27-day sojourn by myself, female traveler, for September of 2022. And the second day I arrived in Edinburgh, Her Majesty, the Queen, died. Oh my goodness. And she was crowned queen the year I was born. So I was in Scotland, in the UK, at this most historic time. Things changed, my itinerary changed because they honored her so beautifully and lovingly and shut everything official and government down. So I had to make plans, but I was like, okay, so what? So I bought flowers, I put them at Halley Rod Palace. I talked to my hosts, my Airbnb hosts. And oh, by the way, the place I was staying, a historic Airbnb, was on the backside of the Royal Mile. So I was actually there when her entourage arrived from Balmoral, and the streets were lined with thousands of well-wishers. So I was this part of living history and having dinner, and everyone was talking. Of course, they could tell I was a Yank by the way I dressed, even though I tried to not look like a tourist. They could tell. And to talk with them about just their love of this woman and the fact that I was in St. Giles Cathedral, where she laid in state in London, but she was in St. Giles Cathedral, and I had just been there the day before, and then of course they shut it down to prepare for her arrival. It was just very interesting that all these kind of dots got connected. And so that's how my 27-day trip started.
And I brought that up because of how it ties into Mother's Day, because she, for so long, had been a mother to an entire kingdom.
Yeah, it was so interesting that many people who said, I personally didn't like the Queen or this or that. However, unequivocally, everybody said they respected how she loved her country and was in service. There was absolutely no question that she was the mother to the UK and served it with complete dedication. I mean, she's meeting with the new prime minister, and the next day she dies. She was in Balmoral, and the next day she died. So she was up, dressed with hair done and greeting this future prime minister, who then resigned. Amazing. So the day before, she was still in service to her people.
Her kind does not come along very often. That level of dedication and duty. Oh my goodness, what a woman. Finally, I'm going to get to the thing that we keep teasing. Today is not only Mother's Day, but as you mentioned, tomorrow is your mother's birthday. To commemorate that and to be of service to your sisters in caregiving, meaning the women across the globe, but especially in the United States that are in this role, what are you doing to celebrate that? Tell us about your project.
Well, I'm inspired by a quote that I often use when I did public speaking and have included it other times, but it's a quote by Nancy Thayer, who said, "It's never too late in life to edit or change, and basically to live your dreams." So while I've been in 9 anthologies, I'm pleased to tell people first here on the 1111 Pod Chat that I'm spearheading my first book, my first anthology, and the title of it is The Convenient Daughter. And the tagline is caregiving stories of hope, heartache, and healing. And as of today, we're launching and letting people know that this is happening with a very special and tender invitation from me to you, to people that you know, for you to tell your caregiving story, because we know stories heal and they help. And I found myself feeling alone and drowning in the deep end of that pool, out in the ocean adrift. And I don't want anyone who steps into this very sacred and noble role to feel alone. And so this book is hopefully, hope floats. It's going to give the family caregiver, the convenient daughter, information and resources based on specific problems and challenges that I've had and that other people, other convenient daughters have had, so that it will be a go-to problem solving, resourceful, rich, encouraging book that you just are going to underline and circle and turn down and tab and want to share it with everyone. So today's the day to send out that invitation and to say, the convenient daughter, she's now here.
Thank you. We ask on Surprise Guest Sundays for our guests to give a little gift to our listeners, and you had graciously offered something. I would like to veto that with your permission. I believe the greatest gift that you could give to anyone right now would be to extend that invitation, which you just have. If you would allow me to put a link in the description box of this video where they can get more information, because giving people the gift of having their story included as part of this, I think that's the greatest thing you could give to someone on Mother's Day. Would that be all right with you?
Absolutely perfect. Because there's something healing for you, the convenient daughter, again, as someone that you know, to be understood, to feel seen, that you're not alone. And collectively, my gosh, to come together, and I have no idea how many people will respond. That's not important. What's important is that the word gets out, which I hope people listening will share this pod chat and they will share the invitation. I pray that it just goes viral, and I just trust the people for this invitation, that it's going to find them because they're going to attract it. So yes, that's the gift, and it's the gift to me. I have met so many people in spearheading this anthology. The stories are of hope. They give me hope. They have been of heartache. I find out people are doing this and have been doing this for 25 years. 25 years of doing this. Oh my, I can't even fathom. To just the healing that happens with family members and friends, caregiving, especially for my role. I am the convenient daughter. It is the single most greatest, whatever, spiritual gift, adventure, challenge, heartache I've ever encountered in my 70 years. I had no idea I'd be writing this first solo book if you had spearheading this first book. No clue whatsoever. I have 4 other books that are in pause mode, because this is the book. This is the story I want to get out, this collective wisdom.
I was talking to someone the other day. I said I had a call with you. They said, "Oh, the person that's writing the book." I said, "Oh, no, no, no. It's not just a book. It's a movement." this is just the first step you're taking, but there's an entire plan and you are going to have resources for these people. So as you said, they're not alone and they don't have to figure it out all by themselves and reinvent the wheel. So there's a lot to what this project is going to look like. And I won't give away any spoilers, but for anyone listening who thinks, oh, that's nice, she's a caregiver writing a book. Oh, no, 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 no. This is the tip of an iceberg that will not take out the ship. This is more like the light at the top of the lighthouse that's going to guide everyone through these waters, because we've been going with the water analogy, so we're stuck with it.
The word convenient, as I have expressed or said that title to people, they have immediately just changed their facial expression and their shoulders shifted, and they looked at me and said, as if, Lori, I understand, I get it. And then they've said to me, often with tears starting to puddle, as I say, I am a convenient daughter. I am the convenient daughter. I understand. I mean, just those 3 words, just those 3 words. And then standing in a Scottish shop in Dunedin, Florida here, I was telling this woman why I was buying some of the things there and telling her about the possibility of the anthology. And she said, well, what's the name of it? And I told her, The Convenient Daughter. This woman started to cry, and we ended up talking across the counter, but it was though we were best friends. We were sisters. We were care sisters. We talked for no less than 45 minutes until the shop's owner came in. She said, Lori, I have to go. And I said, well, when and if something happens, this was last fall, I'm going to make sure to include you. But she told me her story. And at the end of it, I was puddling because she cared for an adopted father and his biological children deserted him. And she was the one who stayed and saw him through the end. So the stories I gather on the street, oh my gosh, I could be the next Charles Corral, traveling the countryside collecting stories, because it is not only a little bit of a spoiler alert, it is just not the role of the convenient daughter. That's the one I know intimately well. But the stories also reflect the convenient wife, the convenient sister, the convenient grandmother, all of us in a role. But I segued here. The word convenient is a both and word. It's not good, it's not bad, it's the same coin. So you can look at what convenience means to you. We have convenience stores, 7-Elevens, and then you can look at another dimension. It's both and, it's just not one. Just as caregiving is just not, oh, exalting, I'm helping my mom, I'm doing this. It's exhausting. It's bone chilling, weary, knock you to your knees, exhausting. Just a fact. Same coin though.
Yep, absolutely. That's the perfect way to put it. In our non-interview podcast episodes, we assign listeners a tiny task each day. And for those who don't realize it, that's actually the premise of our show, is that small actions lead to grand rewards. And so what is a tiny task, just a teeny little thing you would give people to do today that you think will benefit them going forward, perhaps long term?
I found that teachers, including myself, we don't follow or take directions. We don't follow directions. Because when I came up with that, I think it's a wonderful call to action. I have a 3-day mini action plan, or MAP, M-A-P. Because my 3 tasks were: day 1, buy a family journal; 2, tomorrow, write a gratitude list and give thanks for miracles, blessings, and hugs. And finally, day 3, write what I call an AAA list, always appreciated advance list. So it's all about starting your day, following the truism that we have to put on our oxygen mask first. And I can think of no better way than to have a journal, write a gratitude list, but then look forward and write an always appreciating an advance list.
Will you please tell people what HUGS stands for? I think they'd love to hear how you use that.
Yeah, in my morning time of divine dialogue writing, which I've been practicing and teaching for, 16, 17 years. It's the way I start my day. I get what I call divine downloads. And so these words came to me. I mean, I didn't ask, could I come up with a title for something? The words just came, HUGS. And it stands for Happy Unexpected God Surprises. So every day I have hugs. Today I wrote down 5 that happened yesterday, giving thanks on my gratitude list. I just give thanks in advance that hugs and blessings and miracles are just going to come my way. It's just that feeling that you're getting that universal hug, and golly, caregivers need to know they're not alone. and I will listen to you. And if I can't listen to you at the moment we connect, we'll find a time when we can, because people have done that for me. And I just believe in paying that forward.
Because you have a beautiful, giving soul. What I was going to ask next is what advice you would give to someone who is caring for a loved one, but I think I'd like to skew that a little and ask, what is advice you would give to someone who is about to embark on caregiving?
Yeah, I think it's applicable for both, but there'd be two things. One we've already covered, which is if you don't have an active self-care plan, if you don't have an active journal life of giving thanks, writing thanks, you can begin. And the reason is that they have written statistics, again, AARP and other groups have said seniors and others benefit from the practice of gratitude. And again, this truism of self-care. Because if you don't, sadly, part of the statistics are they report that 38 to 70% of us, this is of the 58 million family caregivers, that we will die before our care receivers, that's like my mom in my case, depending on the kind of care we're providing. So this isn't a warm fuzzy, folks. These are studied research programs about the mortality rate of family caregivers. Shocking. I'm hoping to change those statistics to be lower with planning. And that goes to the second thing, which is anyone in the shallow end or in the deep end of the caregiving journey, it is a journey, is to create a family caregiving plan. And that means if you find yourself starting to run errands and whatever, your parents are in their 60s, oh, they're healthy. No, if you're a 30 something, you need to be talking to your 50, 60, whatever, 70 something parents, loved ones, because they're healthy, they're cognitive, all of that. And you need to create that family caregiving plan beyond the last will and testament, your health surrogate, your personal representative, all of that. This needs to be in the file folder. The lawyer needs to know, what does it look like? You want to age in place? You want to go somewhere? Are you saving for it? Does your insurance cover it? Plan A, plan B. My mom's goal was only she would age in place. Little did she know that might have to change. But at 92 and in the health she is, she can't go visit facilities. It would be very challenging. So sooner is better than waiting to when you're 90 years old to say, oh, my daughters will take care of me, because that may or may not be able to continue. Who knows?
Are there any last thoughts you want to leave with everyone?
This has been quite a conversation. I so appreciate you, Joy, and the way that you show up in the world to be a messenger of love and hope and healing with everything that you do. And you do it from such a generous place. So you also do it from such a professional space because you dot every I, every T. You just meet life with grace. And I want to say that about you.
Being called professional is something I never thought anybody would call me that, that's for sure. So thank you. That cracks me up.
Professional for me means someone who is kind, considerate, thoughtful, and considers me in addition to what they need or what they want. So you're always pro me, pro what do I need, pro how can I help you? You're always proactive in that way. So that's my definition of professional.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that.
So closing thoughts for everybody in this Mother's Day conversation really comes from, I wanted to leave people with this. As former First Lady Rosalind Carter famously said, there are only four kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers. I thank you for this time. I hope you will check the link that will take you to my invitation and information about the Convenient Daughter, caregiving stories of hope, heartache, and healing. Thank you again, Joy, for this time.
Thank you, darling Lori, and everyone, however you're celebrating it, wishing you a beautiful, loving, and loved Mother's Day.
Amen.
Chidi, stay some, everyone. Tuta.